Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson, and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Jason, I'm excited for today's show because we're going to ask a lot of rhetorical questions, my favorite. Jason, why haven't the American people woken up and stopped believing the news? I don't understand.
You know, it's funny. This whole episode, we're going to hit everything from how stupid student debt forgiveness is to Hunter Biden laptop and the media lying about it. We're going to do a little Rumble only section at the end talking about censorship and getting ready for the next election. But folks, if you're watching, let us know in the comments as we're going through this stuff. Are people just retarded? Do they just not know? Do they see this stuff and it doesn't even make them say, oh, maybe the media is lying to me. Maybe they're colluding with the government. You know, it's crazy.
Like, what would it take? So we have debunked so many things just on this episode. And Jason, I realize a lot of people aren't plugged into alternative media, so they just keep seeing the news. But even if you're just an independent thinker, you just have a little brain cell that still functions on its own, wouldn't you look around and say, that seems to have been a lie. They lied about that. That response during the last couple of years, that didn't work out so well. I've now seen other information. There's just so much out there that you could just, with your own two eyes, come to a conclusion that, they lied about that. Maybe they're lying about something else.
Right. And it's interesting because taking the position that the government and the media is not being honest with you suddenly makes you a conspiracy theorist, a crackpot, like, oh my gosh.
Well, according to the Biden administration, it makes us extremists, Jason, and domestic terrorists if we support a different agenda than what they offer.
Right. It's the most remarkable thing ever. And yeah, Richard weighing in. So much corruption. It amazed me how people still can't see it.
That's what we want to know, Richard. Thanks for tuning in.
That's the quest we're going to go on today, Richard. So thank you for joining us on this quest. Todd, I got to start. Student loan forgiveness. What are your high-level thoughts on student loan forgiveness?
Talk about how have you not woken up yet? Jason, the only response they ever said when Joe Biden was going to forgive loans is like, well, taxpayers aren't going to pay for it. That money is just going to disappear. Folks, how have you not woken up to Economics 101? I always reference my almost 4-year-old because I think she understands better. Like, if I owe her $1 or she owes me $1 and I say, it's forgiven, honey, you don't have to pay me back that $1, I eat that $1. It's not like it just disappears out of circulation. So high level stuff, you don't have to worry about the trillions of dollars that are getting forgiven. That just disappears. Jason, I think something else is at play here because that money definitely does not disappear.
Yeah, and some people believe that, and we're going to go through a great example of what happened, and this was truly remarkable. The other thing that I'm going to say about student loan forgiveness, we said this money, if the government's going to be giving money, give it to people creating jobs, give it to a plumber to start their business, give it to a truck driver, somebody contributing to society, and these folks, this administration and their media cronies were acting like this money was going to go to like working Americans or hardworking people or that sort of thing. And we called that crap. We said that's a lie. That's not what's going to happen. It's going to go to rich elites that attend college, and truck drivers and plumbers and mechanics are going to end up paying for it. And this week we had a prime example.
Jason, I love that you're on Twitter. You almost broke the story here because I saw you get retweeted and mentioned in other big name publications because, boy, did you do a number on this guy right here. Why don't you tell us about that tweet?
Yeah, so anyways, I would post the original tweet, but Ben Commons has blocked me and he's made his Twitter private. Ben Commons is a communications director on Capitol Hill. He works for Representative Macy Kaptur's office, a Democrat from Ohio, who, by the way, has come out and spoken out against student loan forgiveness.
Weird.
Ben tweeted the other day, I'm referencing a Simon Almeida tweet, and he says, your reaction. His tweet said, just got a call to let me know my student debt has been canceled. This is why elections matter. Thank you, Joe Biden. They did add a community note that the American people should be thanked, not Joe Biden. This is his picture, and this is the letter he posted on Twitter. Now, I'm not a moron, but I can see he posts it. He has his name and address. He has the loan information. And if you look, he had 2 loans, one for like 5,600, one for like 2,200, so like $8,000 in student loans that he took out in 2010. $8,000 in student loans that he took out in 2010. So, me being me, I just replied. This is the reply to his tweet. Oh, let me find it. Sorry. We're doing this on the fly. Bum, bum, bum. So I actually replied to his tweet and I just asked him a question. I said, assuming the address on the note is your house, you live in a $500,000 house and you need the government to pay off your loans. What the hell? And because he posted his address, I pulled up the Zen estimate just using Zillow, $557,000 house. Now, I suspect because it's a house in Pennsylvania, he works in DC. It's probably his parents' house or something. But I saw this and my blood boiled. And this actually, my tweet got cited by the Gateway Pundit and a few other things, which was super awesome. I also asked the question: you've been paying $8,000 in student loans since 2010. Folks, if you took out an $8,000 loan in 2010, 14 years later, you should not still be paying on the loan unless you have no idea what you're doing in life.
Or no plan to ever pay it back, Jason. Maybe he was playing the long game.
Right. And then on Twitter, my Twitter replies, like there was 200-300 replies on here. I'm going to highlight some of the funnest ones. Sun Chaser actually went on his LinkedIn profile and found out that he's a communication director for the House of Representatives. So she looked up his job description. Todd, they looked up his job description and how much it pays because it's a government salary. So the ranges are posted. Guess how much the range is?
Oh, gosh, for that position, I'm going to say at least 6 figures.
Yeah, it turns out like starting is around 80, 90 grand. It tops out about 130,000
of taxpayer dollars. Not only are we paying this fool already, now we're going to forgive him for not paying back his own loans. Great.
Right. So let's put this in perspective. This guy goes to college, takes out an $8,000 loan 14 years ago. He works on government salary that you and I are paying for. And he hasn't produced a job. He hasn't, like, he's a communications person. One, he should be fired for doxing himself. 2, he should, like, how could you be the communications directors and post your name and address on the internet? Like, they're not sending their best. And you're telling me somebody that makes $100,000 a year, who's tied to a $500,000 house, whether it's his or his parents, that's the guy who's getting his student loan forgiven. And the people watching the show, we got truck drivers and plumbers and mechanics and laborers, tree guy. You got a concrete guy coming out to your house today, Todd. Your concrete guy's taxes. So your concrete guy creates jobs to create more taxes. He didn't get a cent, and this clown gets $8,000. Your thoughts?
How have people not woken up to the scam? And Jason, just to make that even worse, my concrete contractor, you and I, we pay double taxation because we're on the hook for our own self-employment taxes. So upwards of 15% for Medicare and FICA and all the rest. So here we are creating jobs, doing good for society, not getting a dime from the Biden administration. Not that we're advocating for that, by the way, but if you are going to go down this path, that's absolutely who deserves it. Here's $10,000 to get your business off the ground, contribute to society. But instead, you got this putz. I assume he's childless. He just looks like he's a leftist fool. What are you doing with your $100,000, buddy?
Right. And really, folks, let us know in the comments. I mean, is this where you want your taxpayer money to go? And now I'm going to go through a few other comments here just to show you how brain dead some of these people are on the left. And these are the people we need to reach, folks, because if you're watching shows like this, if you're a Trump supporter, you've woken up to how corrupt the government is. You've woken up to a lot of these scams. You see new stuff every day. But there are people in these replies that I don't know how they function in society. And I don't know how they still have a right to vote. So scrolling through it was funny because people are commenting on a lot of things. Michelle had a great comment. What does this home have to do with anything? I paid off my student loans bit by bit in my 20s while living in San Francisco, working publishing, making poverty wages. Over time, I switched careers and bought my own home, and then a few months later paid off the remaining $8,000 of my loan. God love her. That's how it's supposed to work in America.
Although it's an interesting question. What does this home have to do with anything? Everything. Did you see the home value, Michelle? That's my one point. Yes.
Right.
If you can afford that house, you have to prioritize. I want everything, but I can't afford everything. So I make a list of what do I need to do first? Number one, pay off your loans, get out of debt. So that's why the home value is important, Michelle.
Well, let's just do some rough math here, Todd. If there's 12 months in a year, and let's say he had 4 years of college, so he's been out of college for 10 years. How many months is that?
Let's see, 10 times 12, 120.
120 months. So if you pay $200-$300 a month on that student loan in 120 months, my math is you should be able to pay that off pretty easy.
You would think so, Jason. You
would think so. Now, some people are chiming in, unbelievable, jail. I mean, the replies on this tweet.
Yeah, it's theft. This is straight up theft.
Right.
Sanctioned by your government.
Right. Eddie has a great one. You can't pay back $8,250 for 14 years. People like you are why this country is going backwards. Yep. Yes, Eddie, great reply. And let's just say, too, that this guy works for a congressperson. Like it's insane. Now, this is my favorite one. Just Jan, we're going to give you a shout out. You're a registered nurse for 40 or for 30 years. If you're searching in my bio for something to attack, it's because your argument's weak, lack substance, and you refuse to admit you're wrong. Just Jan is very confident in her opinions, and she is not open to being exposed to any alternative ideas. What's Just Jan's take? It wasn't paid off. It was canceled. Can you people not read English?
I can read. Can you read, Jason?
I can read.
Actually, this might be a great time to segue reading what CNN wrote about forgiving student loans, Jason. Should we read CNN for Just Jan?
Yeah, Just Jan. This is for you, kiddo. All right. We're doing the switch screen here. All right.
This has gotten very technical on this podcast, Jason. Look at you.
Oh my God. Yeah, who knew we'd be so crazy? So this just came out from CNN a couple days ago. A 6-minute read, June 18th, because Just Jan, I'm sure you believe CNN. Well, CNN says student loan relief contributed to a 27% jump in federal budget deficit.
Huh. Can you read Just Jan? Because what I'm understanding, and folks, just so you understand how bad this is, it's not that we tacked on, $200 billion, whatever the number is going to end up being. It's worse than that because it's part of our debt now, which means we are servicing interest on the debt. So if you thought you were getting away with just $200 billion, a one-time shot, it couldn't be further from the truth because you will be paying and your children will be paying interest on that accruing debt for the rest of your lifetime because we will never pay down the debt. And so it is so much worse than even what most people are saying about, oh, the taxpayers are going to pay the debt. Wrong. Your kids are going to be paying the debt because now, like I said, it just gets tacked on to the 35 trillion, 36 trillion, whatever it is. And you can pay interest in perpetuity on that.
Well, and that's exactly the point. And here's what's amazing. Just Jan is so confident in her opinions. And I mean, you look at her profile, it's because your argument's weak, it lacks substance. Just Jan is somebody's neighbor. And she actually gets to vote in elections. And Just Jan believes that debt just magically goes away. I'd love to live in Just Jan's world. Now, I got to just call out a few other things. Parody of Functioning Society. Comms director doesn't redact his address before posting. Folks, we're not sending our best to serve in Congress. Sandra Bums, you're a piece of garbage. Pay up. Pretty well said. I can't say I disagree. This was my this one's great.
This one's great.
How dare you post his address for a crazy MAGA cult to attack him, hater. And now this is rad. He is a democracy and dictator guy. He also blocked me, so I can't really I can't really reply to him. That's why it doesn't pull up his stuff. But he didn't notice that the comms director posted it himself. So Summer was kind enough to chime in. He posted his own address for all to see.
How dare you post something he posted first, Jason?
Right. And then Marion is one of my favorites. I'm old enough to know better, but tired of keeping my mouth shut. The orange turd lost, period. Recovering Lutheran. No lists, no DMs. Marion is evidently confused because he's got a blue wave, flags, hearts, all kinds of symbols. I don't even know what that flag is. But he says, but you dickheads and send your hard-earned money to a billionaire felon. Let me just break that down. First, why are you calling us a name? Like, I didn't insult you. Like, that's kind of rude. Second, yes, I am an American citizen. I get to choose who and what and how I send my money to. And yes, I have donated to President Trump's campaign. I have donated to other politicians' campaigns, and I get to pick that. I'm much more comfortable in that world than the federal government deciding to forgive to pay off $8,000 in student loans from a guy who works for the government who makes $100,000 a year. You're really saying a guy who works in DC making $100,000 a year, that's whose loans all the blue collar people that watch our show or that'll see this content, that's who should be paying it. It's the most insane thing ever.
Can I jump in on there too on the felon piece, Jason? They stand for nothing. We will have in a couple of years, if Donald Trump becomes president and he goes on the revenge tour, they're all afraid he will, which you and I want to see. Let's imagine for a second Joe Biden becomes a felon as well. This individual, Marion, they say they don't like Trump because he's a convicted felon now. It's a cute little narrative. You know for a fact, if Joe Biden became a felon, they would never apologize supporting him or voting for him. They say they don't like Trump because of the felon stuff, but that's not true because they have no principles to stand on. It's just a convenient narrative in the moment. And this other thing too, recovering Lutheran. What is this person's moral grounding without Christ and God? What is she even saying is bad about Trump? You can't have any moral objections to anything if morality doesn't come from a higher being. So Marion is just a lost, wayward soul all around. Oh, Trump is bad because he's a felon. Well, that's just your opinion because there's no much more objectivity in your world by your own admission because of your own worldview.
Right. And it's funny. Actually, I got to give a shout out. Fally made it over to the Rumble.
Rumble too. Thanks, Fally.
Thanks, Fally. And folks, we've been doing the extra like 30 minutes on Rumble. And today we're going to talk about how censorship's going to kick in for this election. But Fally hits the nail on the head. It's so sad that people are so blinded by the orange man that they're willing to destroy this country. And that's really why we talk about on this show, like share this with people that might not share your opinions. Because in this case, like ask them, like, you're cool with taxpayers paying off this guy who works in DC making $100,000 a year with $500,000 house. You're cool paying off his student loan. Like that's who you want to pay. It is the craziest idea ever.
And you know who else is getting loans forgiven, Jason? My wife, here's my Ben Shapiro moment. My wife is a doctor. She had lots of doctor friends in grad school. They took out government-issued loans that were frozen, by the way, during the pandemic. They didn't pay a dime. They were making their very cushy incomes, not paying a dime on student loans. And then they have their loans forgiven as well if they never privately refinanced and kept the government loan itself. So you've got Ben, you've got doctors, the actual people that benefit from this. It's a very, very shrinking segment of the population. It is all corrupt, just like this, blatant vote buying. And to echo Fally's comment, I am also voting for the convicted felon. Enthusiastically, I might add.
Right. Hey, shout out Paul Reese, our friends at Split Rock Coffee. Hey, Todd, do we got a promo code for splitrockcoffee.com?
Folks, if you love fresh ground coffee, you want it delivered right to your door. Jason, this isn't even an ad read. This is just how much we do this now. Go to splitrockcoffee.com. If you use promo code Todd10, you can save 10%. Go ahead and subscribe, get even more savings, and then every month coffee comes right to your doorstep. Don't deal with the grocery store anymore. Don't wonder what ones you have to choose. Splitrockcoffee.com. I have the breakfast blend right now, Jason. I don't know what you're drinking, but they have a ton of selection to choose from. Get your favorite coffee delivered to your door every month.
And we love Split Rock. I mean, disabled veteran owned, like shout out to those guys. Great company, great coffee. It's phenomenal. But getting back, and it's interesting, Falley's on fire today. My family are all libtards in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. They think I'm crazy. Those are the people we need to get through, because not all those people are retarded. And I'm going to use my dad as an example. So I've done content creation now for a few years in this space. My dad never wants to talk about what my business did. I sent my dad a text today with our Rumble link, and because Dad's laid up after a little surgery, I'm like, hey, Dad, maybe tune into the podcast. So I don't know if he's ever, and him and my stepmom, she's from New Jersey. She hates President Trump. I'll walk into Dad's house. He has CNN or MSNBC on the news. He thinks I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. So shout out to Dad. Dad, if you're out there, let me know if you're good paying off Ben's student loans.
While we're at it, Jason, are you good with the media lying to you every single day about something Trump said or did, or that Joe Biden apparently didn't do? Or, boy, Jason, as we get into Rumble and talk about the Hunter Biden laptop and all of the intelligence agencies just straight up lying to you and big tech censoring you when we knew the truth before the 2020 election, are you good with all that? Open borders, sending money to foreign countries, and questionable wars. Are you good with any of this?
Right. And actually, this is probably a good time to transition to the next story and video we're going to talk about. So, unreported in the news this week. Well, Todd, should we play the flashback video from before the 2020 election?
Should we go to Tater for that one?
Let's break out the Tater, Brian Stelter.
Emails again. This time, emails from Joe Biden's son, Hunter. So let's take a look at how a storyline is manufactured. In this case, a loudly anti-Biden storyline, redounding to Trump's benefit. First, it helps to really view this as storytelling, not so much as news coverage, but as political entertainment, where crushing the other party is entertaining. Fox News, the beating red heart of the right-wing media machine, molds reality into a serialized TV drama. That's how Vox recently put it. Think Lost or 24. Think Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad. Think Westworld or The Wire. Every day, every night, there are what appear to be new developments in this entertainment drama. Some new twist to keep you watching. A new storyline was introduced right on time. There it is, the New York Post front page, announcing Biden secret emails. More shadiness involving Hunter Biden. As political entertainment goes, this is not a brand new TV show. It's just a new season of the show. Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine were a key part of the plot last season in the impeachment of President Trump. Hunter has already apologized. Well, he's already admitted to poor judgment and swampy behavior. His father has said that it will not happen again. And at this point, most people have moved on. But Trump needs a closing argument. So he and his media allies usually rely on whataboutism, right? So you ask about the Trump family's swampiness, and they say, what about Hunter Biden? You raise Trump's legal exposure, and they say, what about Obamagate? You might say, or liberal critics say, Trump is compromised, and they say, no, Biden's compromised. Whataboutism is like a glue that holds the base together. It also supplies hours and hours of TV drama. So stay mad and stay tuned. That's what it's really about. Let's get back to the new season's storyline. Let's break down how this all happened, because it was launched, as I showed you, by the New York Post, and then promoted by another Murdoch media property. That, of course, is Fox News. You worry about Trump's corruption, and Fox says, what about Biden? Every hour of the day. So Fox is a producer of this serialized drama, but there are big questions about who might have created this show. And that's what's probably most important here. CNN reported on Friday that U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort. Now, we already know some of the American producers of this drama, because the New York Post says it was tipped off to the existence of the emails by Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon. Then Rudy Giuliani gave the Post a copy of a hard drive containing the emails. Now here's where it gets even weirder. The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019. And a shop employee saw the emails and then was worried about getting in trouble or getting in danger, and he made copies of them. There's a lot about this story that does not add up. And the employee has not helped matters. He has contradicted himself in interviews with reporters. And, I mean, for all we know, these emails are made up, or maybe some are real and others are fakes. We don't know. But we do know that this is a classic example of the right-wing media machine. A tip from Bannon and a hard drive dump from Rudy led a former producer for Sean Hannity's show to write a story for the New York Post that gets splashed on the front page that Rudy then used to trash the Bidens all over Fox, and they're doing it almost every hour of the day. And Trump has been hyping the drama for days on end, and this is how it goes on and on. Now let's...
Oh my God, I need to go step into the sauna. I need to go for a run. That is so hard to sit through.
I gotta say, do you ever remember that movie Silkwood, where she was like in the shower and like naked? Like, people watch this clown and they think this is news. Let's break this down. And oh my God, the comments are on fire. Daryl, CNN is lying repeatedly. Whoop. Oh yeah. He is a full piece of, yep, Jody, you're right. Absolutely spineless. Oh yeah. It's so let's break this down. Last week in court, Hunter Biden's legal team admitted that the laptop was real. They admitted that so what really happened, this was a real story. Hunter dropped it off at a repair shop in Delaware. When you drop off laptops, you sign a thing that says if you don't claim it next number of days, it becomes their possession. The laptop owner or the shop, he had it, and then like the amount of time they had expired, and he saw tons of bad stuff. Now, some of this is Hunter stuff, some is Joe stuff. You know, pictures of him doing drugs, sex trafficking. It looked like minor sex stuff. There was also a lot of emails and iMessages about business deals. He makes a copy of the hard drive, which is his right to do because now he owns a laptop. And then he distributes it to whomever. The laptop itself gets turned over. And it's confirmed around the 2016 to 18 timeframe, the IRS had all the information, the CIA, the FBI. And these are in court documents that everybody's admitted to. So when this story breaks leading up to 2020, and I'll be honest, the Hunter Biden stuff's sensational and he should be in jail. But the real concerning thing is that there were emails identifying business deals that Joe Biden was a part of when he was vice president and after. And that was the headline of the story. This breaks before the election. And clowns like Brian Stelter come out and act like it's not real. Oh, this is fake. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Everything he said was a lie, and it's been proven.
And to the title of the show, How Have Voters Not Woken Up? Just pick a lie. You could pick any story from CNN in 2016 to 2020, provably false in 2024. And they're just like, huh, whatever. Oh, the Hunter Biden laptop thing is real. Half of them don't even know about the story because it's not getting covered at all. The other half just say, yeah, well, Orange Man bad. But folks, if you are getting lied to so blatantly, don't you start asking the question, like, what else are they lying about? Or gosh, maybe they don't have my interest if they're not interested in telling the truth.
Right. And I mean, this is CNN. And back to Jan from earlier, or my dad, or the other numbskulls, you know, and God, I pray my dad's watching today. And I pray my dad's having a flashback. I remember sitting through that, and you're telling me everything the potato just said is a lie. It was all true.
You got lied to. If you watched CNN, they lied to you. 51 intelligence officers signed a document saying that this was fake Russian disinformation. It was all true.
Right. And here's what's really concerning too. When all this was spinning in the media, the FBI, the IRS, the CIA, the Department of Justice all knew the laptop was real. And they let CNN run with the story, MSNBC, all the liberal media outlets. I mean, if you want to talk about election interference or any of that stuff, the fact that these folks, and not only were they able to not deny the laptop was real, and that there was really corrupt stuff on there, really awful stuff, things Hunter Biden shouldn't see the light of day. And Joe Biden, there is more than circumstantial evidence that Joe Biden is corrupt. And this isn't the biggest stretch that a lifetime politician who's never had a real job is corrupt and taken money from private interest groups and sold out the country. And
That's
it all
pretty
ties
common
back.
knowledge. You think Joe Biden owns what, 3 nice homes on his Senate salary?
Right. And Todd, how much money have we sent to Ukraine, which is what all this stuff is about?
It all goes back to Ukraine. Hundreds of billions of dollars at this point. And Jason, we don't have a clip here, but do you remember the 2020 debates? And Donald Trump asked Joe to comment on the laptop, and Joe Biden just shrugs it off and says it's Russian disinformation too? They all
That
lied
was
to
a
you.
lie.
They all lied to you.
Right. And like I say, folks, back to the question, how have voters not been woken up yet? You're a Democrat. You support the regime. You support Joe Biden. You see this stuff. And that's part of the problem is you don't see it, which is why we ask you to share this content. Hey, take a little time. Listen to these 2 knuckleheads from Minnesota rant about this stuff. Let them open your eyes. And I'm not saying you have to vote for Trump. I'm voting for Trump. Todd's voting for Trump. Most of our viewers are voting for Trump. This corrupt political regime and this corrupt news regime, they need to be stopped. And if they aren't stopped, they are just going to continue brainwashing our country while the country continues to get ruined.
Yeah, and if you think Joe Biden's the problem, I'm going to vote for a different Democrat. I'm sorry. Like in 2024, whatever the Democrat candidate ends up being, it will feed into the system of just lie built upon lie. It's not going to change.
Yeah, and we should probably, this might be a good segue too, Todd, because you had made a video the other day that you put on your Twitter that was talking about, we suspect they're going to pull the switcheroo with Biden. We did a whole episode on it. Who are they going to replace? And timing wise, they've got the debate next week, which, oh, by the way, Joe Biden is taking 7 days in Delaware to prep for the debate. I don't know. Are they putting him cryostasis or what the hell are they doing with him? And then after the debate, it's about another, I think, 4 or 5 weeks till the Democrat convention. And both Todd and I have predicted around the time of that convention, they're going to pull the switcheroo. We think it's going to be Big Mike or Gavin. But Todd, talk about what the Democrats are going to try to do.
Yeah, so there's a long Twitter rant. You can go to Twitter. It's TamTrib, TamTrib. That's my handle over there. But I'll make it concise because I was fired up that morning. Cup of coffee flowing through my veins. But in short, the play for Democrats is very simple. What they're going to do is they're going to pin everything on Joe Biden. You've seen the media slowly roll this out like, oh, wait, Joe Biden actually might have a little senility and dementia. Meanwhile, you can't show videos of that because KJP is going to call that deep state, disinformation. So very, very contradictory in what they're reporting on Joe Biden is or is not. They're going to pin it all on Biden. They're going to pin it all on Mayorkas to an extent, and they're going to say, we need to do better. Democrats need to do better. Jason, I have a clip here of Representative Pramila Jayapal as well saying that I'm very concerned about the border. We need to be more selective. So you can see the narrative shifting in real time. They are slowly planting the seed that this is Joe Biden's mess. So he's going to fumble through the debates. They're going to get to the Chicago convention in August, and that's when they're going to get rid of him and say, time for change, time for something new, time for a new Democrat platform, which is all a lie. They're going to do the exact same stuff, but they're going to sell it to the American voters. They're going to say Big Mike or Gavin Newsom or whoever it is, this person's going to do things differently. They're going to clean up Joe Biden's mess. That is the way they're going to sell you. I would bet my house on it. And people are going to be gullible enough because, look, they believe Brian Stelter in this 2020 clip right here. They're going to believe that, yep, that's Biden's fault. Big Mike is going to do things differently. Gavin Newsom's going to do things differently. Even though you can point to Big Mike's husband in the White House for 8 years, you can point to Gavin Newsom's California for the last however many years. These people don't want anything done differently, but they will tell you, they'll tell your family, your neighbors, your friends, that Joe Biden's the problem, so we got somebody new to fix the problem. How was that for a rant, Jason? I think I actually went longer than my Twitter feed.
I was going to say that was a great rant, and this is an important thing to understand too. So if you look at all the people that are focused on, and we do it on our website, check out theamericantribune.com. We love pointing out that Joe Biden fell down, Joe Biden said something stupid, Joe Biden did this or that. But we, as conservatives, we can't let that be the only narrative. It is these Democrat policies. It is the collusion with the deep state, with the media, with the intelligence community. I mean, think about the intelligence community had the laptop. They could have debunked it. Anyone could have come out in the lead up to the 2020 election and said, you know, those 51 intelligence officers, yeah, that's not true. Like, we have the laptop and there's concerning things on there that we're investigating. It's all they could have said. They didn't. They still haven't come out and say it. They've only admitted it when they've been forced to in court under oath. And
but in the press, when they speak in public, they double down on their lies. And I think someone did, was it Panetta? I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'm saying I think this happened. I might be misremembering. They said it was more important to do that than allow Donald Trump to win the election, or at least that was probably their interior, their motivations that they didn't admit out loud.
And those 50,
to prevent Trump.
And those 51 intelligence agents that said the laptop was a hallmark of Russian disinformation. Now, notice the phrasing that they use, because they aren't saying it's Russian disinformation, so you can't accuse them of that. They're just insinuating. And then Jan, or whatever the heck her name was earlier, hears that and goes, oh, this laptop's Russian disinformation. So they do that plausible deniability game, and by just in how they phrase it. The other thing that they do is they never retract, and there's no consequences. So those 51 intelligence agents still have security clearance. The government hasn't pulled it. And if you're in the former intelligence community and you still have those security clearances, that lets you make money. That's how you get to be an expert on shows or guest speakers or that kind of thing. So these people lied, but they did it in a way, and nobody was ever going to hold them accountable. And now they still get to monetize off it. And what happens when you don't hold people accountable for actions?
Might they do it again?
I think they might do it.
And don't they have a pretty strong incentive to lie again to you before the election? Because look, we want Donald Trump on a revenge tour. Might he have a reason to go after every single one of those 51 people and lock them up?
Yeah, and it's funny. Every time I see a Democrat say Donald Trump's going to throw us in jail or he's going to whatever, I'm like, yes.
Please.
Please.
You belong in jail.
Right. Don't promise me a good time. I mean, if Trump's not in there and these corrupt people that are lying to the American citizens, if we don't hold them, if we don't hold them to account, it's never going to stop.
Yeah, and I don't want to go back into a circle, revisit something we talked about, but Jason, Donald Trump's strategy, yes, go after Joe Biden, the man, but hammer the Democrat Party and make it clear he is just a cog in the machine. Joe Biden can disappear entirely. None of this changes and gets better.
Right. Absolutely. Now, Todd, where do we venture next?
All right, I referenced this clip. Here's a short one. I just want to show Joy Reid and Pramila Jayapal. I can't think of a more uninteresting, just infuriating conversation. I don't want to listen to them, but I think it's important to kind of notice their reaction to this right-wing, narrative that we're trying to create.
But there's a lot of fear-mongering.
There's a lot of fear-mongering, absolutely.
And I think it's kind of remarkable that the polls I look at, the national polls, actually Americans still support immigrants. They support immigration. It's just that they would like to see a system that actually works and that can keep them safe and secure. And
if you and I had said this 6 months ago, we would be right-wing extremists. But because it's an election and because they need to clean up Joe Biden's mess to run somebody new, listen to the tone she's saying. We want it just to be orderly and safe. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. These just gaslighting liars.
All of us want that. And, I've been working on this issue for 20 years since before I came to Congress, in the streets as an activist.
Let me show you this is one of the reasons that people have these sort of thinking. Here's the three cable networks reporting of this. It was our banner said, soon Biden announces legal protections for undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens. CNN's banner said, Biden announces new protections for some undocumented spouses. Here was Fox's banner, migrant arrested for raping 13-year-old in New York City.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, right?
Exactly.
So, folk, there was a Twitter fact check. I imagine there's a Facebook fact check. So I am just going to say that some people suggested that when Fox News ran a horrible headline, no, I don't know who's rooting for this. I think Democrats might because they aren't solving the border issue. Listen to Jayapal's reaction off camera again.
CNN's banner said, Biden announces new protections for some undocumented spouses. Here was Fox's banner, migrant arrested for raping 13-year-old in New York City.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, right?
Exactly.
Is that you have
That's
a lot
part
of
the problem.
fear-mongering.
Exactly.
Fear-mongering. Imagine being the mother or the father of that teenage daughter that was brutally assaulted, disposed of. Huh. No words. There are no words for the evil here.
She was laughing about it. And here's the thing. We've talked about this. We've done episodes on it. Joe Biden this week signed an executive order that allowed 500,000 spouses a pathway to citizenship. These are people who shouldn't be in our country. And reports are coming out, and I've seen varying numbers, but like 80, 90,000 of them, something like that, had interactions with the law to varying degrees. They were arrested for something. America doesn't need to import uneducated laborers who are going to be on public assistance. That's the ceiling that they're coming in. Other countries are emptying their jails and they're sending them to America. And if you're a criminal in Venezuela and they say like, hey, you want to go to America? We'll fly you there. They show up, they get put up in a hotel, they get an EBT card, and they get to commit crimes. And they know they're not going to be prosecuted. It just breaks your heart.
How do voters not get this? How do you look around at the landscape? And you might be insulated. You might be in your little suburban liberal bubble. Make no mistake, it will get to you too. It will get to you. The more you bring in, they got to go somewhere, folks.
Right. And what I get a kick out of too is in this clip, Joy Reid, which did you notice she got rid of her Trump haircut? We showed the clip a couple weeks ago where somebody's like, why do you have a Donald Trump haircut? Now she shaved her head. But that's just a funny aside. And Joy Reid, by the way, who's oppressed as a Harvard-educated, multi-million-dollar journalist on there. But they're talking about the narrative. And the narrative is, yeah, we've seen a uptick in crimes for illegal immigrants. I mean, just in the last week, there's been like 8 or 9 stories that have broke about, you know, these gang members or whatnot doing awful things. And these are people that shouldn't have been in America.
What did you think would happen when you had a wide open border? And again, when you vote for Democrats right now, when you voted for Joe Biden, what did you think would happen?
Right. And like I say, kind of back to the start of the article, how voters not woken up yet, folks? These are the questions you got to ask your Democrat friends that are supporting Joe Biden or whoever his replacement's going to be. Is it the runaway inflation? Is it the open borders? What is it? I get you hate Donald Trump. I get you think he's orange Satan, but you can't defend these policies or positions. And when you see these people lying to you, I just can't wrap my head around it.
No, even if you hate Donald Trump, what's the alternative? Getting all of these actual real life consequences in your backyard?
Right.
Like you said, I don't get it. You can I don't even, if you love him or hate him, I don't even care. I care that when you vote for Joe Biden or whoever they run in 2024, this is the end result. That's what I hate.
Right. And what's interesting too is they're going after Donald Trump. They're saying, oh, he's going to deport all the illegals. Folks, just to preface yourself, when you remove 20, 30 million people from America, it's going to be expensive. There's going to be horrible videos that come out. This absolutely has to happen. And as much as you want to say this illegal who's come in and paid their tax and done their things, the problem is they didn't come here legally, and you can't let one illegal in and not let the other. Like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, time and again, don't get my hopes up, state media.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Speaking of state media, it wouldn't be a podcast without a Morning Joe clip. So, folks, this is where they're at this point. How do you believe this? That's all I'm going to say to preface this video. Who believes this?
And he is a disruptor. And he is going to figure out, you can cut off the microphones, you can do whatever you want to do. He is a disruptor. He doesn't really know the facts of the issues well at all, so he has to disrupt. He has to shock. It's like your father wrote about the Soviet Union. They can't play by the rules. They can't play by the rules that America plays by, because the old Soviet Union was inferior intellectually, they were inferior militarily, they were inferior economically, they were inferior politically, they're inferior in every way. And that's Donald Trump. He cannot debate Joe Biden on the merits. So he's going to be a disruptor, and the Biden team better be prepared for Donald Trump to walk. I mean, what would a disruptor do? Okay, you're going to cut off my microphone. I'm going to walk over to your microphone and I'm going to get in your face. I'm going to confront. He could do that. He could do, imagine the 10 most disruptive things that Donald Trump could do. And he's going to probably do those very things.
Look, Jason, you and I are going to be covering the debate next Friday because it happens next Thursday. I'm going to lead with this clip. Here is Morning Joe saying that Donald Trump is likely going to walk over to Joe Biden's podium and steal his mic to keep talking, and then do 10 other things that go unnamed, because Morning Joe can't think of a single thing that Trump will do. Make no mistake, Trump will not do any of those things. But this is where we're at in the level of discourse and thought on the left.
Well, and here's what's wild about it. So this debate, CNN's hosting it. I mean, what are the odds? We won't find out before the debate, but we'll find out 6 months or 2 years later. They're going to leak him the questions.
Wait,
just my
didn't
guess.
They do that with Hillary, Jason?
They did with
president?
with Hillary against Bernie. There's no crowd. They're not allowed to have notes or props, so they can't pull out like paper, that kind of thing. They get to mute the microphones. They're saying they're going to mute each other's microphones. And Joe Biden is taking a week to prep for this debate. If Joe Biden is
able to debate, I would imagine Donald Trump is going to go hobnob on Wednesday night, probably get some Mickey D's, and just show up and roll with it in the debate, because he's that good. I don't know if you saw, what is it, the All-in-One podcast he was just on? Shooting from the hip. Just shooting from the hip with people that do not necessarily like him. It is so obvious that Trump is able to handle a debate, handle questions, interact. Just a flat-out lie from MSNBC and Morning Joe. They are completely ignoring the fact that Joe Biden's probably going to say blah, 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 blah. And that's when they'll cut off his mic, by the way.
Well, I was going to say, I think President Trump, and we could have pulled the clips, but in the last debate, when he brought up Hunter Biden's laptop, Joe Biden on stage said, "Oh, that's misinformation."
Mm-hmm.
And completely, they let it pass. I mean, I really hope President Trump, lets Joe Biden talk as much as he...
Yeah, the plan is to not interrupt Joe Biden. I honestly just say a couple words. Joe, how would you describe the last 4 years to the American people? Let Joe Biden lie to their faces.
And that's what's funny, too. That's the fun part. Part of this podcast is just us getting this off our chest. When you read a thing like a jobs report we've broken down, it's like, oh, okay, so American citizens have fewer jobs, full-time jobs have gone down, part-time jobs to illegal immigrants have gone up. Okay, great. But the media is not going to report any of that stuff. We've done it on the financial data. Will does a great job breaking it down on our Substack, www.theamericantribune.news. And they lie about inflation numbers, and people like you go to the grocery store. I mean, Jen and I, my wife, we went to the grocery store last week, and it was one of those big trips where you had to get paper towels and laundry soap and stuff. It was like $350-$400, and it's just insane. I mean, we didn't get anything wild, and I mean, we shop for a couple 2-3 weeks or whatnot, but and then they're going to say, oh, inflation's down. How do people fall for it?
Can we backtrack on the inflation dialogue as well? The inflation narrative. First, it was not happening. Then it was transitory. Then it was a good thing. Then it was back down to 3%, even though they ignored that it had been up like 20% before then, and that was just baked into the cake. Jason, how many examples do we need to give that they lied to you? They lied to you about inflation. You can go to the grocery store, and then Biden's going to say that the economy is working. And 45% are automatically going to pull the trigger for them still.
Yeah, and these policies, these inflationary policies, forgiving student debt, that student debt, I saw a breakdown the other day. In the last month, we spent, so 1/3 of all the tax dollars we collected paid on interest in 1 month. So if we take in $1 million, 30% of that goes just to interest on the debt.
Not
Folks,
even paying down the debt, just to make that clear. It's simply the interest owed on the debt.
right. Think of that. If you managed your personal finances where 30% of your money just paid the interest, you would never get dug out. It would be you're
Well,
done.
I think our
And-
man Ben Kamen's, what if you only paid interest on your student loans? You would owe student loans for the rest of your life. If you only paid
Right.
interest on your mortgage, rest of your life. That's the federal government right now, and it's only getting bigger.
And these folks, like, they think that they can solve climate change or some of these things. Like, you guys can't even do job one, which is come up with a balanced budget. And this just in, folks, if your answer to this is let's increase taxes more, you're just a moron. I don't know what to say.
Especially when the federal government only brings in about $4 trillion, I want to say, in tax revenue, but has a budget of $7 or $8 trillion. I didn't go to college for math, Jason, but if I see the money coming in as $4 trillion and I plan on spending $9 trillion, something doesn't add up.
This math doesn't work.
Speaking of income tax, though, really fast, Jason, Donald Trump has proposed no income tax. He wants to get back to tariffs. If you're a libertarian out there, or you're just I want to be left alone kind of person out there, but I hate the federal government, that reason alone, getting rid of the income tax is one of the best things that could happen to regular Americans.
Yeah, I got to say, before, I think it was 1918, we didn't have income tax. So if you made $100, you kept $100. And the way we made money was tariffs because people wanted to sell stuff in America. And that actually forced us to have a smaller federal government because, yeah.
Man, the wins
it's
keep
great.
coming for Trump. He has run a great campaign. He's saying all the right things. I know we got our hopes up in 2016 with the wall, the Mexico paying for it. Look, not every campaign promise came to fruition, but if he does half the things he's promised in 2024, there's a lot to be excited about.
Well, and we had Mayor Trent Staggs on a couple weeks ago, folks. That's why it's important, too. You support these people. They're going to support President Trump. The wall didn't get built not because of Democrats. The wall didn't get built because of Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell.
Great point.
Republicans stopped the wall from being built. So these non-MAGA Republicans, they're out of here.
Jason, I think we have time for one more clip about how have you not woken up here. I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want Adam Kinzinger? Do you want Rachel Maddow? Nicole Wallace?
I don't know. What do you think? Do we do Adam Kinzinger?
We got to do Kinzinger. We just talked about rhinos, too.
Right.
I don't even know if we can call him a rhino. He's just a straight up establishment Democrat. Republican, indeed.
I mean, his brain is broken. The difference is he does it more energetically. And, and I think it's completely an unfair comparison. But right now, Joe Biden looks a lot more low energy than Donald Trump. And that's Donald Trump's advantage. But these videos, I mean, they're blatant lies. And it used to be, Jim, back in the day, it would be kind of the dark corners of the internet that would put out these fake videos. And then responsible people like members of Congress and the Senate or the RNC would say, no, we're not going to do that. They're the ones pushing this now. This whole Joe Biden wandering at Normandy, all you had to do was pan out and see that he was talking. He's doing exactly what I would have done as a military guy, which is go over and talk to them and not the other state leaders. Him at the fundraiser, if you actually zoom in on his face, he's very mobile. He's motioning. He's smiling at people. He's not frozen. But we're going to see this for the next 5 months. So people just guard yourself when you see those videos. Wait to make a judgment until you see the full video in context.
Like the full security footage from the Capitol, that kind of full context, Kinzinger?
Adam Kinzinger belongs in Gitmo. He served on the January 6th committee that did the biggest job of clipping things, showing things out of context. We broke down hoaxes, the Fine People hoax, all these networks. Donald Trump, if you remember, back at Charlottesville, said there were fine people on both sides. Next sentence, I am not talking about the white supremacists.
The very next sentence.
The very next sentence. They clipped that. They have the bloodbath hoax we covered like a month ago. Donald Trump said, if you don't elect me, there's going to be a bloodbath in the automotive industry, is what he was talking about. They play it like he's going to be a dictator. And these people have the audacity to get on there and talk about, unediting or fancy editing of videos. And once again, people like my dad, people like that Jan we talked about earlier, they're going to believe that. Right now, the narrative is they're trying to spin that Joe Biden is not, or Joe Biden is capable. Any video of him being shown not being capable is a deep fake. That's the new term they're going to use. And when we go to the Rumble only, we're going to talk about what impact that's going to have on the election. And I will say the Normandy thing, people did take some of the clip out of context and framed it differently. But, Joe Biden, we've got plenty of footage from C-SPAN of him walking around saying stupid stuff, looking confused. But they're going to try this for the election. If they get rid of Joe, I could see a world where Joe says, you know what, my health is kind of struggling and that kind of thing. So somebody my age shouldn't run. And he'll take a step down. That's why they're trying to paint President Trump as somebody who's not mentally fit.
But again, they are going to lie to your face right now, say everything is fine. And then in 3 days, they're going to say, oh, he's not fine. Good for him for stepping down because we need someone younger and more vibrant. And no one will bat an eye.
No one will bat an eye. Well, hey, Todd, before we jump into the next part, folks are going to talk about the election interference that's going to happen with this deep fake stuff. But we got to do it on Rumble only because right now we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube. We can stream on Twitter too, because when you talk about this stuff, these other platforms are going to suppress you. So, and not just suppress, they'll shut down your page. They'll say you're committing election interference, that kind of thing. And that's why it's important that you protect yourself, you support content creators on platforms like Rumble. We love Rumble. They don't censor us. They don't negatively impact our reach. And we try to be factual. We try to show clips. We don't edit them. We don't do any of that funny stuff. But we just want to show you how you're getting lied to. And hopefully you get mad. Hopefully you share it with other people that are getting lied to. And hopefully they get mad too. Because if you're somebody that believes this lying slob of Adam Kinzinger, at some point you've got to just get sick of them lying to you. And you got to wake up and say, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, and Jason's dad, you're going to be our proxy now for every viewer, every American voter out there that still clings to what CNN and MSNBC are telling you. Jason, I don't want to toot our own horn. I think we did a great job in just an hour of just going through a couple examples of blatant lies from the media and extrapolate that out. They lied to you about this. They're lying to you about everything. I would love your dad's reaction to this episode and just say where we got it wrong, because where I'm looking, we got everything correct today. And it doesn't seem that hard to come to. It's just a little common sense, a little bit of thinking. I don't think it was a stretch for us. We didn't exert so much mental energy to be like, okay, where's the lie on this one? Just laying out the facts, folks.
Right. And one other fact we got to talk about before we go, Todd, and I'll tee it up and you can do the read. We work with Goldco and we love Goldco. And we are not just sponsors. We are also customers.
I forgot my silver again. Shoot.
Yeah, Todd never has his tube of silver. So it's funny. I'm going to give my dummy explanation. Todd can do the smart guy stuff. But we got a website with them, handsoffmywealth.com, where you can go. You can get financial advisor. They can do everything from sell you silver, 1 ounce, gold bars to help you with an IRA conversion. But here's what's happened, folks. If you have $1 US, this dollar compared to when Joe Biden took office is now worth like 70% of that dollar. And by that, I mean, if this dollar used to buy you 1 loaf of bread, this dollar no longer buys you a loaf of bread. It buys 7/10 of a loaf of bread. What's nice about precious metals, this silver bar is worth 30 loaves of bread. It's still worth 30 loaves of bread, even though this silver is now worth $35 instead of $30 or whatever the number is. So we love Goldco, and we'd encourage you. They sponsor the show. We're really happy to work with them. And Todd, do you want to go through the official stuff?
I sure do. Handsoffmywealth.com, folks. Criminal tax hikes, hyperinflation, a full-blown recession. It's part of the grand plan. The billions of dollars Biden keeps sending to that corrupt Ukraine, the trillions of new taxes he wants to shove down your throat, the electronic banking system crash resetting everybody to zero. Checking accounts, saving accounts, 401k, IRAs, all of it zero. But you don't have to be a victim. Protect your money and get up to $10,000 in free silver to do it when you visit my partners at Goldco. Goldco's helped protect over $2 billion in gold and silver for people like you and me. They're offering up to $10,000 in bonus silver when opening a qualified IRA account just for being a supporter of our show. So whether you want to protect 50 grand or $500,000 or more, this is your opportunity to protect yourself from our out-of-control, corrupt government. Visit handsoffmywealth.com, handsoffmywealth.com, or click on the link in the video description.
All right. On that, folks, thanks for tuning in. Our website, once again, theamericantribune.com and theamericantribune.news, www.theamericantribune.news. That's where you can find our written content. We have our Rumble channel on the American Tribune. Todd every day does video clips with his commentary on it. That's awesome. Social media on Twitter. I'm at JRob from MN. That's probably where he tweets. And if anybody's ever trying to message me, like send it to my inbox in Twitter. That's usually the best spot to get us. But we appreciate your support. It's kind of fun for us because like last week's episode, we got like 4,000 or 5,000 views on, and we're just a couple normal guys trying to help save this country. So we appreciate your support.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us on Facebook and YouTube. This is the end of the show for those channels. Hop on over to Rumble at the American Tribune. Follow us on Twitter to keep watching the show. But we got another half an hour in us, and we're going Rumble only right now. So we can talk about things that Facebook and YouTube don't like. We'll see you on the other side.
See you on the other side.